You see, it is very tempting the way that you approach the world, because it gives you no doubt that there is nothing in darkness. Now, let me take another phenomenon which is very old but very modern. We talk about love and people matching with each other. There is two men that want to live together, and we call them homosexuals. What is the way you approach that?
I think that's rather unnatural. Also, I've seen people who had this kind of problems. They came to me. They were possessed. A man was possessed by a woman. So he wanted to have a man, you see. But once the possession went away, he became very normal. Men are very easy. They take to married life very easily. Women, I think, if they are homosexuals, then they take some time to get all right. I don't know. Maybe emotionally they feel disturbed or whatever it is. But men are absolutely all right.
How would you describe normal and natural?
A normal person is that a man wants to marry a woman. It's not. In India, we cannot even conceive this. I've never known before this kind of happens.
Do you think it hasn't happened, or we don't know of it?
No, maybe in India they might be doing something, but we had never known anyone like that. When I was in the medical studies also, I never knew that.
I'm sure that now that you go around the world.
After coming to the West, then we discovered all this.
Of course, it doesn't happen only among men, it happens among women as well.
Yeah. But I think, you see, maybe there may be some reasons. Also, I met one gentleman who was a guard of the Queen, and he became homosexual because his wife was very nasty. And she tortured him very much.
So you think there is always an explanation, something bad happening?
Yes. So he thought that it's better to have a man. You see, no problems, no quarreling. That's how he became. But when he came to Sahaja Yoga, and he got completely transformed. He got a nice wife now. He's having children. He's very happy. So I think it is abnormal conditions and problems that people take to this sometimes. There are many reasons for that. But it can be corrected if they want to. If they don't want, you cannot force it. You cannot force self-realization on anyone.
But you can accept them as people who try and to achieve purity.
They change.
Can they remain unchanged in this aspect?
So far we didn't have anyone like that.
I see. Now, tell me about confession. It is something that we are familiar in Christianity. There is someone like, automatically when you hear about a Holy Mother, for instance, there comes a time that there is some hierarchy. Now, how is the hierarchy between mortals in...
We don't have anything like that. You see, when they come to Sahaja Yoga, mostly the Christians, Catholics and all that, they send me such thick letters describing what all wrong they have done, this, that. I don't ever read it. I just burn it off. It's not important.
You should return them.
Yeah, it's no good. Because past is past, finished now. Forget it. Why? It's over.
But how can they not repeat them if they're not aware that this is wrong, or there is something that they should pay attention?
What happens that it's all a game of the ego. And conditioning. The ego goes on telling you did this wrong, you did that wrong, they feel guilty all the time. There's no need to feel guilty or anything. It just works out. See, you are human beings. After all, only human beings can commit mistakes. You are not gods. What is there to be so much angry with yourself for that? Just, you should know that you can become the spirit, which is a pure thing. Like we say that in the pond, you see. When you are in the pond, there can be worms and all sorts of things. But when you become the lotus, you are fragrant. You are above it. Nothing can spoil you. In the same way, you get that life, eternal life. So
that is true, but who tells you whether you are right or wrong?
You yourself.
But
tell you because you feel it yourself. That goodness within you, you feel it yourself.
You mean that when you are right, you feel it?
You feel it.
Even when you're wrong, you feel it?
Not normally. You see, right and wrong is a different concept. It is like this, that you feel, when you get this thing, you feel within yourself that you know the absolute, because you can use it. Say now, supposing somebody is suffering from a cancer. Now you put your hands to that person and ask, now what happens? You know the chakras which are catching. Immediately you know the person has cancer. He may not know, doctors may not know, but you know. Then you ask the question about yourself. Is it all right? You can ask. Because you are now one with absolute truth. So there's no question of anybody telling you about it, you just know. Like people will come and tell me, Mother, see this Agya Chakra is catching, is the center of Christ. That means that person is suffering from ego. But we never say, I am suffering from ego normally.
Especially from ego, we don't.
No one says that. So, now what happens that when you come and tell me that my Agya is catching, means that you have ego, alright, it can be correct.
It can be corrected.
Of course.
Now, we are dealing with treating the consciousness and health. Now, what is a miracle to you?
What is it?
What is a miracle? Does it mean anything, or is it just
I don't think it's a miracle.
one thing among others? I mean, it's a way to...
Yes, it is your
to absolute.
In your evolution. You see, like, first they say we were chimpanzees. Alright, take this case, chimpanzee. Now some chimpanzees became some other human beings. That, all those human beings have no more. Now we are there. So there's a big gap between us and the chimpanzees. Like us, who are realized souls, and human beings, there's a gap. Now how many human beings will become the spiritual beings? You can't say. They should. According to John, it is only 144,000, but I think we have already crossed the limit.
According to John?
John, the disciple of Christ.
Oh, I see. So you quote the apostles.
Yes.
I see.
So, but maybe his counting was wrong because we have already crossed the limit. I don't know. Whatever it is. So now, when you become the spiritual being, then these people are left behind. Now see how we are destroying ourselves otherwise. See, this AIDS business. You go to America and you are shocked. People are so nervous, they have schizophrenia, they have this disease, that disease. And all kinds of destructive things now, listening to this horrible music, they go deaf and they lose their hair and all kinds of things that happen. But always they take to something destructive. Everything. Like a man sees somebody going in the park and coming out and falling down. Another one pays to fall down again. I mean, you see, he can't see that this is destructive. But after realization, you see what is destructive and what is constructive. So a person who is realized starts rising much higher than the person who is not realized. And there's a big gap, I find, there is. But it can be crossed like that. In 1 month's time, he can change.
In 1 month's time?
He becomes an expert.
That's a very quick process. Now tell me, in all religions there is different stages, grades, as you grow up. Now, is there an education for small children? How are they introduced in this system of yoga? Young children.
See, young children, if they are born realized, they immediately know me.
So they can do that at what age?
You see, even very little babies.
Really?
They see me, they start smiling and just talking to me. Yeah, it's very sweet. And on the whole, children are very good for realization because they're pure souls, they're innocent. They are the best. I mean, normally, you see, nowadays, of course, we are getting very much worried about children because they're getting spoiled and this and that. But when they come to Sahaja Yoga, they become excellent children. Now we have a school also in India now, on the Himalayas. We have a beautiful school for children. And everybody says they're so mature, so wise, so sensible, so respectful. It's really worth seeing them the way they behave and talk. Because you see, their spirit starts manifesting.
Now, would you describe a certain practice of prayers or anything else that is a must for some of your disciples?
There is no prescribed thing as such, but according to your centers. Now, if some center is in jeopardy or there's a problem with any center, then you should know how to cure it and correct it. And there are few things you have to do by which you can correct it. It's very simple.
It is?
Yeah, extremely.
Well, I'm sure that there is plenty of time for you to meet with people around the world as you travel non-stop. Now, tell me about...
But at the most 3-4 days I'm at home and then I travel.
You travel?
Yes. I'm there for about 2 months with my family. They also come down here sometimes.
Now, how did this all started? I mean, now you are something of an apostle. How did it all... What is the inspiration for you to do all this? Do you consider yourself as the founder of this way of approaching truth?
But you see, actually, Sahaja Yoga is an ancient system. As I told you, it was only for one person they used to use. But what you say, if I am the founder of this mass movement, I am.
Right.
But it is all there already. It was there, all these things were there. Only thing, if I have worked anything, is the permutations and combinations, as I said, about human beings. Why is it that they cannot get mass realization? Any discovery, whatever it is, if it cannot be used by masses, is useless. And I have worked it out, and it's done.
It is a system that approaches people. Now, how do you... tell us about your life now. You are really someone who preaches a new message around the world. How is it accepted?
Very much. Because this is time, special time, modern times is called as Kali Yuga in India. It's the worst times, see. And all kinds of sins will be done, all kinds of things. They describe horrible things for this. But at the same time, there will be a category of people who are seekers of truth. And so many of them. It's already prophesied. William Blake in England, you see, he has written about it, that there will be men of God be born in those days, and they will have the capacity to become divine and make others. It's clearly described.
So him in another part of the world with his own education reached with his means what you reach in other ways. Do you have relationships, or do you meet with people who are leading figures of other religions?
Rather difficult.
Why?
Because, you see, they have set ideas. And most of the religions are either power-oriented or money-oriented. They are not spirit-oriented.
I see. Well, that is very serious.
It's a big problem, you know. If they were spirit-oriented, I would have loved to meet them and talk to them. But they are not. You see, this is the big problem.
And would you say you consider the people that follow you and live with you as a church? Same
thing with I was born in a Christian family myself.
I see. But then do you think it is as easy for a Christian as for anybody else to reach out and find this way?
Christians abroad are all right, because they see that they have started now thinking that they have to have something more than the church. The church is not sufficient. Like they are now closing down all the churches everywhere. So there's something has to be found out. But Christians in some places like India are not like that. They are not seeking. They think that the Christians abroad are saintly people, you see. Also some of them believe that Christ was born in England. Can you believe that?
Well, I'm sure that if Christ appears like in The British Gentleman, because the system we have made out of him is not Palestinian at all, and you realize that there is a twist anyway.
It is ignorance, complete ignorance about even Christ is there. But after Sahaja Yoga you realize who he was, what was his greatness. And really, I mean, you know what important work he has done. Without him, I could not have managed Sahaja Yoga. All of them are very necessary. And he is the last gate we have to open. And that's what he's done. But how contradictory we are. Like we say that he suffered for our sins. Still, why should we suffer now anymore? It's very contradictory that we should suffer for Christ. Why? You know, Father likes you to suffer. Why will he like you to suffer? So these sufferings and all these is not necessary.
Can you tell us how this group of people who live in the way you explained to us in Greece, what do they do? How do they live? I mean, people would like to know.
Oh, they are very dynamic people. They have doing very well in life. Most of them are very much improved in health and in every way. Their married lives have improved. Of course, in one or two cases, some of the very orthodox people have tried to trouble them, but most of them are very happy, doing very well.
Well, you seem to think that we are viewing a very healthy, if not wealthy, group. Do you address poor people, miserable people, people that are desperate as well.
Poor people are, it's a more on the middle class work is better. Because poor don't have any money just now, they want to have food, so they don't think of spirit so much. But if you once have this spiritual awakening from the middle group, then they go to the poor and they can help, because there is free health services. There is also, these vibrations give you tremendous amount of energy to grow more food. You see, the crops improve, the cattle improves, so that's how you help your farmers, so that's how it works out. But the rich are difficult, because as
they have it all. They are self-sustained.
We are all right. But money has problems, lots of problems. And so they also come, even politicians come. But I must say that they are rather slow people. Bureaucrats, politicians.
They are the slow ones. They keep the world not spinning enough. Now, how modern do you think such a message could be for young people who are, dealing with loud music and speed and violence and new ideas?
You see, this is meta-modern. I'm talking of meta-modern era, where people will not have any violence, because it's compassion and love. We feel the love for another person. There's no question of violence. In this meta-modern era, there will be no racialism, no fanaticism, no fundamentalism. All isms will drop off. Because isms are just conditionings and ignorance.
Isms are schisms.
Isms. They are isms. Sahaja Yoga is no ism. It is being. It is reality. So you do not have these problems at all. After this, we have people from all over the world. I've never seen them quarreling, fighting. Of course, they pull each other's legs sometimes. They're very humorous and they enjoy life. Just enjoy. We are not bothered as to what their jobs are or things. But they are telling me that they are getting so many results out of this. Here only they told me that some of the photographers got first prizes for their photography. Some musicians got very high salaries and things like that, you see. So it shows that once you are in balance and in peace, you can achieve much more than when you are disturbed.
You see, you come into a country that has the idea of a very homogeneous total population that all belong to one ethnic group and they are one race and have one religion, and it is very useful for us in this country to realize that it is not so, that there is people who think in a different way, who approach the same truth and the same life in a very different way. Now, what will be your message when you will meet them tomorrow, apart from all that you have told us about?
For the people here?
Yes.
You see, actually, they have to know their heritage. This is their heritage I'm talking about. You see, they cannot learn anything from these Eastern people, Western people. You have to teach them. You can, because your heritage is here. You are so traditionally bound people, but somehow it is lost. I don't know why it's lost. If you can come back to it, and the whole world can learn from you, no doubt. So it is so important, and it is such a great discovery. Once you discover what you are, you know how glorified you are, how great you are, and the whole self-esteem and everything comes within you. And you become a very eminent, dignified, and a very beautiful person.